At the strategic crossroads of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, two vital arteries of global trade, growing military tension has been unleashed. The United States, with a forceful offensive, has deployed airstrikes both in Iraq against facilities used by Iranian-backed militias and in Yemen, targeting anti-ship missiles operated by Houthi rebels. This tactical move not only responds to increasing threats against U.S. and allied naval forces, but also seeks to safeguard commercial shipping in these strategic waters. The simultaneity of attacks against Houthi missile capabilities in Yemen reveals a strategic approach to protecting crucial sea lanes. This development raises crucial questions. What are the strategic outcomes sought by the United States in these dual-front offensives in Iraq and Yemen? How will these escalated military actions impact the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, especially as it relates to relations with regional allies and lingering tensions with Iran? In a narrative sequence, we enter immediately after the U.S. Air Force's incisive bombing of Iranian facilities in Iraq. Now, we dive into the latest situation on the Yemeni front, exploring in depth the details of the 9th U.S. bombing raid against the Houthis. Today, U.S. forces carried out strategic strikes, hitting 3 facilities in Iraq and dismantling 2 anti-ship missiles in Yemen, all operated by Iranian-backed militias. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin highlighted that these airstrikes were a direct response to the escalation of aggression by Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria, targeting U.S. and coalition personnel. In a statement, Austin detailed that the targets included 3 locations used by Kataib Hezbollah and other factions linked to Tehran in Iraq. This unified attack targeted KH headquarters, warehouses, and training sites, seeking to deplete the rocket, missile, and unmanned aerial vehicle capabilities of these Iranian-backed militias. The U.S. response, consequently, paints a dynamic scenario in which international forces seek to curb Iranian influence and ensure stability in the region, marking a milestone in the complex geopolitical dance of the Middle East. On the complex chessboard of the Middle East, a new series of strategic moves unfolds. The scenario focuses on Iraq, where the U.S. military has carried out precise attacks on 2 key installations, Al-Qaim, to the west near the Syrian border, and Jurf al-Sahar, south of Baghdad. The decision was not made lightly, as a U.S. defense official stressed, highlighting the determination of the President and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin to defend national interests. In a statement steeped in resolve, Austin stated that they are willing to take all necessary measures to protect their staff and facilities. However, the tone was balanced, signaling that they do not seek to exacerbate regional disputes and are prepared to take additional precautions. A direct call was extended to the groups responsible and their Iranian sponsors, urging them to immediately end these attacks. These events are intertwined with a recent sequence of hostilities, where U.S. service members at Al-Assad Air Base were injured in a missile and rocket attack. Although air defenses intercepted most of the projectiles, some hit, causing traumatic brain injuries to 4 American soldiers. Despite these setbacks, Pentagon spokesman Major General Pat Ryder reported that everyone later returned to duty. This episode is not isolated, as it unfolds against the backdrop of a series of attacks against Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen over the past week and a half. The United States, seeking to control the aggressive actions of Iranian-backed forces, has launched attacks in response to these events. A twist in the narrative comes when, parallel to events in Iraq and Syria, the United States directs its efforts toward the Houthi rebels, who have been attacking Yemeni commercial ships. This new wave of actions follows the perceived success of the joint US and UK strikes against the Houthis last Monday. These attacks focused on weapons depots, drone systems and missiles, marking a forceful response to Houthi provocations. As events unfold, the Middle East becomes an increasingly complex scenario, where the main actors adjust their strategies in search of an uncertain balance amid constant tensions and challenges. In the intricate setting of the Red Sea, the narrative unfolds with the latest military action directed against the Houthi rebels backed by Iran. It all begins with a preemptive response by U.S. forces to the imminent threat identified in 2 Houthi anti-ship missiles south of the Red Sea, discovered in Houthi-controlled territories in Yemen. The urgency of the situation led to self-defense by U.S. soldiers, who shot down and destroyed the missiles, according to the U.S. Central Command (CENTCOM) statement. This episode is just one piece of the puzzle in a broader military operation involving American and British submarines, warships, and fighter planes, with the latter nation being the central figure in the action. The collaboration also extends to allies such as Canada, Australia, the Netherlands, and Bahrain. After the operation, the 6 allies issued a joint statement, emphasizing their goal of calming tensions and restoring peace in the Red Sea. However, the warning to Houthi leaders was clear: they will defend lives and free trade in one of the world's most crucial waterways. Amid these actions, the British Ministry of Defense highlights the need to counter the Houthi threat, specifically their ability to attack international ships. Combined US and British forces carried out precise strikes using Paveway 4 precision-guided bombs on 2 military bases near Sana'a airspace. The clear objective: to ensure that attacks on international trade in the Red Sea do not persist. As these events unfold, concerns arise about ongoing threats. The Pentagon reports positive impacts and effects on the multiple enemy targets attacked. The United States, seeking a diplomatic solution, has requested China's intervention to pressure Tehran and stop the pro-Iranian Houthi rebels. However, the efforts have found little response in Beijing, despite the efforts of senior U.S. officials in various meetings with their Chinese counterparts. Uncertainty persists amid the geopolitical complexity of the Red Sea, where intertwined actions and negotiations outline the future course of the region. In the complex geopolitical scenario of the Middle East, the Houthi attacks stand as a catalyst for global concerns, extending their tentacles to various facets of international security and stability. The narrative begins with the direct consequences on global shipping, a tide that threatens to unleash waves of global inflation. This situation is intertwined with the shadow of the Israeli-Hamas conflict, whose repercussions could further destabilize the Middle East region, generating an amalgam of concerns that spread through the corridors of world power. At the epicenter of this complexity, Iran's narrative emerges, woven with threads of war strategy and supply to Houthi partners in Yemen. Western officials and experts paint a picture where Iran progressively strengthens the Houthis' ability to attack merchant ships, a checkmate on the chessboard of global trade. As the United States leads weeks of bombing, a new reality is revealed. The Houthis, once perceived as a motley militia, have transformed into capable agents of Iran. The supply of weapons from Tehran and the burgeoning inventiveness within its ranks have catapulted them to the forefront of the troubled situation in Yemen. Iran, in a tactical alliance with its Hezbollah allies, goes beyond simply sending weapons, deploys drone jammers, rocket components, and long-range missiles, driving a new era of military technology. The presence of advisors and consultants from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Hezbollah in Yemen confirms a strategic collaboration that ranges from naval strikes to rocket and drone launches. The American and British response, in the form of counterattacks, triggers a tit-for-tat dynamic that threatens to engulf Washington in a prolonged military campaign. This escalation of indirect conflicts between the United States and Iran casts a shadow on the geopolitical horizon. Although the U.S. strikes put pressure on the Houthis, Western observers point to signs of military adaptability among them, fueled by new technology that amplifies the efficiency of their attacks, whether against Israeli ships or territory. In this strategic maelstrom, the lines blur between alliances, advanced weaponry, and innovative tactics, as the Middle East becomes the epicenter of a geopolitical dance that captures global attention.